Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper, and if you saw Saturday's video, you probably had a lot of questions about the shafts for the dragline crane that we're making, milling these flats in, and I'm sure there's a ton of questions. I haven't released the video yet, but I played with my feeds and speeds. When I calculated all this out, it was telling me 250 RPM, running 6 1/4 inches a minute. Yeah, that was great and all, but it just was not cutting right. It wasn't cutting good. This was a brand new end mill. Wasn't happy with the sound it was making. So I slowed it down to 100 RPM. I slowed down my feed to 7/8 of an inch per minute. And it's actually taking the full ½ inch off. It's cutting faster than it did before. Take it in passes. So let's start it up and show you what I got. Well, there it is, and that looks really nice. That came out a lot better. My end mill is still sharp, so definitely not an issue there. All right, well, them are all done. They were done a couple weeks ago at the time of filming that video, and now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna address the questions and comments. But first, just adjusting your feeds and speeds made a huge difference in the whole process. That went from about 20 minutes of milling to when I changed my speeds and feeds down to 5 minutes to do both ends. 5 minutes, about 2 minutes, a minute to move over, reset, and a minute to cut that, or 2 minutes to cut that in. So about 5 minutes in total. The whole job, the whole part, sawing it, drilling it, facing it, everything, and material moving, maybe 15 minutes apart. So, you know, your feeds and speeds are all, you know, everything's set in stone. Everybody claims you got to go by the book. Play with your feeds and speeds a bit, and you'll see some changes. You know, depending on your equipment, your material, your tooling, you'll see changes in the way it acts. And sometimes what the book tells you and what's, you know, written is never going to be absolutely perfect. So you can play with that stuff and dial it in. That's just a baseline. So now on to the comments. We had a lot of great comments on this video, a lot of good questions. One of them in particular, a couple of them that I saw were, why didn't you just weld them up and remachine them? That was faster to make new ones, completely faster. You think about the time involved to weld all that up, and all the wear was on one side. Now you have to chuck it up, figure out how to hold it. There was no center in those, just on the one end where the grease zerk was, and you don't know that that's perfect either. Turn that weld off, which is usually harder. You're never going to have it perfectly round. So in the field, with a grinder and a stick welder, yes, that's a good fix if you need to, but realistically, make new ones. It's just not worth it. Like I said, 15 minutes a piece to knock those out at most. Not worth it to me. You'd have ½ hour or better into them to weld them up and remachine them. So definitely not worth it. And especially, the other thing is impurities. They'd been running like that for a very long time. Dirt ground into that, bronze ground into that, you know, that there's going to be impurity. So the weld is never going to be perfect either. You're going to get bubbles, and it's just going to be, it would be a bad situation. There's no way I would ever consider that. And I tell a lot of my customers that some of that stuff, you know, they want you to weld it up and remachine it. I'll do it if they really, really want me to. But half the time it's cheaper to start over and make them something new, just because of the time involved. And then heat distortion, heat affected zone, you could have cracking after welding. You know, there's so many factors that weigh into that. So welding is never the best option. Well, take that back. Sometimes it is the option, but it's never really a good option when you have the option of starting over. I had a couple of comments about why I didn't just take the bandsaw and cut off that excess material on the flats that we milled. Time. It would take way longer in the bandsaw to snip that little bit off than it did to mill them once I redid my feeds and speeds and took that in one pass. And then the other thing with the bandsaw is you'd have to clamp it in. You'd have to have a vise set up or whatever. But then how do you get it absolutely true one end to the other? Well, I guess you spin the vise around. But that needed to be perfect. And to line up those flats, it couldn't be off a little bit like this. That would screw up the whole part. So milling them was just easy. It was fast. Like I said, 5 minutes apart total. I can't complain about that. We also had a couple of comments asking why I didn't do all the drilling in the lathe. Time, speed. The radial drill was so much faster. When I'm over here at the lathe, you're hand cranking in the tailstock. You start to load up on chips and then you got to back it out. On the radial drill, flip of the wrist, spin it out, spin it back. Lock it in, feed until you hear the chunking going on, which you guys could hear in the video. Flick of the wrist, spin it out, spin it back in, away you go. And the drilling went really fast. And there's another one. A lot of you commented the same thing. Drilling holes was your least favorite job in the shop. We had a few people mention tapping and cleaning. And well, cleaning is another one that does suck, but generally cleaning, I enjoy it because at the end of the day, when you get all of it cleaned, when you finally break down and just start cleaning, you see the progress and, you know, it's instantaneous reward. You know, the place is spotless. And I struggle with that a bit just because I want to keep going on the jobs and keep going on the projects. And when I finally decide that I need to clean up, it's always a big mess, and it's great to see the progress when it's finally there. So I do enjoy the cleaning, but drilling holes, yeah, for me is least favorite job of all of them. Right up there with tapping, which a few of you have said too, depending on what you're tapping. But when you get into the bigger taps, then it's kind of fun. And we had lots of comments about Connor leaving. Connor, a few people said something about him being laid off. He wasn't laid off. He had planned, he had enlisted with the Army National Guard. He has since left. He had some family issues. He actually quit early, which is fine. I mean, if he would have talked to me beforehand, I would have said, yeah, go ahead, spend time with family, go spend time with friends before your tour, before your basic training. He left October 8th for basic training, so if he comes back, great. If not, I wouldn't blame him. This region's dying, and getting out of here is probably the best thing for him. So I hope he has a good long life and enjoys everything he does, and I hope I taught him something. So like I said, sad to see him go, but he's on to the next chapter, and I'm very happy for him. So gonna be an interesting life for him with the skill sets he's gotten here and with what he's doing with the military. So a lot of cool stuff for him in store. So like, yep, definitely sad to see him go. And there were a few comments on the climb milling. The Cincinnati is set up for climb milling. It does have the backlash adjuster, which I had adjusted properly, but I think there is some wear in there from many, many years. That is a 60s machine. It's still very good. It works good, but there is some wear. There is some issues. So probably won't be climb milling much with it at all, but I will at some point probably take the table off and take a look at the backlash assembly and adjusters and all that and see if there's a way to tighten that up a bit and clean that up so that we can climb mill, because it is fully capable. So climb milling is more, how is it worded? It's energy efficient. It's a more efficient milling than conventional milling, but again, it's, you know, it's really not necessary for a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to try it because, well, the machine's set up for it, capable of it. We saw it does work, sorta, but not the greatest. So we'll just chalk that up as a lesson learned. Don't do that, and until we can tear into it and figure out what's going on. Well, I hope I answered all the questions, or as many as I could. You know, it's hard doing these follow-ups because I got to look at the comments and try to go through them all and try to pick and choose where, you know, how many there are overlapping, the good ones. Some of them are just terrible comments and, you know, they get ignored, but try to address as much as I can. So this coming Saturday, the video is of the bushings that go into the wheels that shaft supports. So that will be the next job. We'll make all the bushings. Those are going to be Nylotron. And before anybody comments, why aren't you using bronze? Well, bronze is expensive. Nylotron is not. Nylotron holds up just as well as bronze in a lot of applications. So I'm going to experiment and see how it works because it's mine. I can do what I want. And I want to see how it works. And if it works out great, perfect, wonderful. And if not, well, then I learned something and I got to make them out of bronze yet. So not a big deal either way. I own a machine shop. I can do that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a nice thing. I wouldn't have these toys and these hobbies if I didn't own a machine shop. There's just no way I could afford it. You know, steam engine, the dragline, the sawmill, all that stuff. There's no way without owning my own machine shop could I ever afford to do these repairs. So with that, until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.